Welcome back, GRD122, to part 5 of our Jiffy Box. And what we're going to be doing in part 5 is basically getting the best of both worlds of our vector and raster art. We don't want to lose our sharp vector art, and we want to utilize our nice raster art that we used in Photo P, but we don't want to compromise any of our vector art. And what I'm talking about, for example, is if I zoom into America's Favorite, remember this was text that was rasterized. Rasterized means that when it comes into Photo P, it becomes pixels. And we do have high resolution, but if you really zoom in, you can start to see some rasterization, pixelization, and we don't want to see that. So we don't want to see it especially with text. With this one, we're not going to worry about. We're not going to worry about the Jiffy because we did use raster-based effects on here. We have a shadow, we have a stroke, we have our bevel and emboss. We can't really do that with vector artwork, so we're going to leave that alone. This text, we're going to use. You can see when I zoom in, it's all pixelated. We're going to use our vector artwork for that. Our image of our pancakes, I'm going to leave alone. And then down here, this text, we're going to use our crisp text from our Figma file. And same thing down here. Now we still want the shadow. Now we still want the glow down here. So I'll show you how you could separate the glow and just keep the glow. And then we could put text over top of it. We could superimpose the vector text on top of it. So let's do that. So what we're going to do here is basically just turn things off. So we're not going to change a whole lot. We're just going to turn things we don't want off. This text up here, we want the vector, so I'm going to turn it off. It's off. Shadow and the text, because we can put a shadow in Figma. This one here, all-purpose baking mix, turn it off. So I'm not going to see that. And then down here, this quality and value, I'm going to turn it off. Now you may have different stuff and it may appear differently. And the net weight, now this is one, if we want the glow but we don't want the text, how do we do that? Because I can't just turn it off. Everything gets turned off. Even if you take the fill, even if you turn the fill off, you still see kind of an empty area in there. Because I tried turning down the fill. That doesn't work either. So what we're going to do is do something. I even do this in CSC 103 where we separate a drop shadow from a dog when we do like this dog soccer thing, if you ever worked on that. But what I'm going to do, this net weight in here, I'm just going to go in here, and this is where we have our color overlay and outer glow. Now we don't need the color overlay because we can color the text in Figma. So I'm going to turn that off. I just want the outer glow. And I don't want that text, but they're together right now. So what you can do is if you go in here, you could go under effects, not on here, but go to effects and right click and do something called create layers. And again, it's not on here. If you right click on here, you're not going to see create layers. But if you go on effects, right click and create layers. And basically it creates a layer of the glow. Now it doesn't call it glow. Sometimes it'll call it a glow, but here's the glow. And I'll turn off that. So we still have the glow, but we don't have the text. So you see what we're doing there? Glow, we're leaving on. So it separated the layer style, which is an effect, and made it permanent. Made it a permanent area there. Now you could always go back and change this, or you could have made a duplicate layer. But for what we're doing, that's fine to do that. So we're creating a separate layer for the glow and turning off the text. So we've now turned off the America's Favorite. We turned off our all-purpose baking mix. We turned off the America's, whatever it said down here, quality and value something, and then the net weight. So all our text we turned off. And we just basically have our Jiffy. We can keep this red top on here because it has a drop shadow, and that'll be fine for raster. And we have this kind of semi-transparent blue box. We definitely want to keep that the way it is down there. So what we're going to do now is just export this as a JPEG. Now we could always put this stuff back, but right now I'm going to export it as a JPEG. And I'll go File, Export as JPEG, and I'll keep everything high resolution. Don't want to turn anything down, keep it up at 100%. And when I save it, it's going to save to my downloads. So I'll save it. And I still get a message for ad blocker even though I turn off my ad blocker. See that thumb? Means ad blocker is not on. But anyway, let me turn it off. So this got saved down to my downloads. So I'm going to go to my downloads and get it. So there it is. I'll just copy it for now, and I'll go to wherever I have my stuff at, Spring 2023. I'll go in here. I'll go into Notes, and I have it in a Jiffy 2 folder. Let me find that. P2 Jiffy Box 2 folder, and I'm just going to paste. and I'm going to put that Jiffy Box JPEG in there. So now I have my Jiffy Box JPEG, I have my PSD, and I'm going to go back to Figma. So I'll just leave this alone. You could save it, not save it, it doesn't matter right now. You just turn things off and you turn that layer off. So let me go back to Figma, and I'll go back to my recents and I'll open this up. And I'll close this down here so I have more room. Now what I want to do is kind of slip in the image and use the good stuff. So I'm going to put the image at the top and then slip the stuff I want on top of everything. So I'm not going to use any of this except this and this text and that text. So we're going to slip the image in kind of near the top. Now what I'll do is make sure nothing's selected. Nothing's selected on here. Don't be on that. Don't be on anything. Make sure nothing's selected. And I'm going to go over here and go File and Place Image. And that's how you bring an image into here. And I'm going to place an image. And I'm going to go get my Jiffy Box JPEG, the one I just exported. This is the one I just exported. There it is. And I'm going to hit Open. And I'm going to click. And there it is. Now it's not on my frame. I'm going to move it onto my frame. And you should see it on the top. There's my frame. It's on there. So now it's in front of everything. Now it's covering up everything. But now I bring America's Favorite up in front of it. Just drag it up in front. And I'll drag All-Purpose Baking Mix up in front of it. And there it is. And I'll drag the net weight up in front of it. So I'm dragging everything up in front of that box that I just brought in there. This is the image I just brought in. And that's all I need. Wait, I have quality and value. Let me drag that up in front of the box. So everything now, America's Favorite, All-Purpose Baking Mix, which is here, the net weight, which is here, and quality and value, which is there. They're all in front of that image, that JPEG that I brought in. That means when I zoom in, I'm going to get nice, sharp vector artwork. And I can still put a drop shadow on here. I could still go here and scroll down and go to Effects and add a drop shadow. I could click on the settings here, this little sun thing, and I'll put it at 4 and 4 and 4. Now it's at 25%. Might as well put it up to 100. And I'll hit Enter. And there, that's a nice looking drop shadow. Now, look at how sharp that looks. Nice drop shadow, nice sharp text. Compared to what we were dealing with over here, again, I just want to point out, when you zoomed into this one, it looked like that. Now again, we're zooming in a lot, but that's what it's like. So we're getting nice sharp text here with a nice sharp shadow. And I'll go down and do the same thing down here. I'll click on this quality and value since 1930, and I'll add a drop shadow. I'll go to Effects, go on the settings for drop shadow. I'll use the same one, 4, and I'll put it up to 100%. And if I zoom in, it looks nice and sharp. And that's all I want. Now over here I have a little bit of an issue. I have to line it up a little better. I think we had some issue with the text, so I'd have to double check the text there, but this looks pretty good. This is our Roboto semi-bold that we're working on. You can see it got kind of wider on the other one. Let me just go check the other one and see what the size was that we eventually used, if it got a little different. And that was the net weight. And what is this, the size? I just want to go in here, look at the size. It looks like it's 36 Roboto Roman. So I don't know, we might have needed to change that, but we could go here and we have Roboto semi-bold 36. I'm going to leave it like that. Now we still have some stuff here. This is probably an issue that I'd need to work on a little bit more, but right now I'm not too worried about it. But anyway, what I could put on here is a stroke. I'll put on a white stroke. Just a white stroke, real thin. Don't need anything special, just to help it go in front of the blueberries. And then also the color of it, I also want to click on here and adjust the color of it, because remember we used a blue. So I'm going to go here on where it has the black fill and use the blue and then just make it a darker blue, because I think that's what we did in Photo P. And I'll hit OK, and even the stroke I could even put up to 2. Something like that. And maybe even put a stroke here and you don't even need that glow. You could always go back and re-export the thing without the glow, because maybe just the stroke looks better on here. I didn't even think of the stroke when I was doing the glow, so that creates all this artifact here. So we can go back and fix that and just turn that off. And by the way, I'll just show you this, just in case we're doing that. If I was like, I don't like what's going on with the glow and all that, that's why you could go back here and then just turn off the glow and then try it again, you know, if that's a problem. So I'm just showing you here if it's a problem. If not, don't worry about it. But I can go here now after changing that and just generate a new JPEG. And I'll go File, Export as JPEG, and I'll hit Save. Now it should probably put a 1 on it or something. Let me go in my downloads. I'll go to my downloads and it put a 1 on it. And I could get rid of the other one and use this. Maybe I'll just rename it. Instead of having a 1 in parentheses, I'll just put it 2. So I know that's the second one. And then I'll copy that and I'll go back to my folder that I had everything in. Wherever you have it, that's up to you. I have it in this Jiffy 2 folder. And I'll put it here and I'll paste it. That way I could go here back to Figma, and you know, if I don't like what's going on here, I'm just gonna delete this Jiffy box and I'll replace the new one. I'll go File, Place Image, and I'll use the new one. And I'll just click here and then I'll move it in and put it right on, and I move it up a little bit, and it's on our frame. Now it's not on our frame, actually, right here it's not on our frame. So can I bring it onto the frame? Yes, I could just drag it down onto the frame if it's not onto the frame. So make sure it's on the frame here. And now I'm going to drag it below America's Favorite, below All-Purpose Baking, and below the weight, and below Quality and Value. All 4 of those things, drag it below it. And now we don't have to worry about that glow down here. Now we have a stroke on it. It's like a 1 point, or actually a 2 point stroke on this text. Actually, it's 4. I don't want it 4. Let's take it and put it at like 2, and that's fine. We could read it fine. We could still see the blueberries. That's good. This looks good. This probably needs to be moved up here. We could even put a stroke on here. We could even put a white stroke on that. That might make it look a little better, stand out a little bit better. I'll put it on white. I'll make it 2. And you could even put a drop shadow. You could even add an effect and put a little drop shadow on there. Let me see what it is. I'll just put it 4, 4, 4. It's at 25%. That's real low. That's probably good. Keep it low like that. So now we have a drop shadow, a stroke on there. Actually, that's 2. Let me make it 3. So we have a nice little stroke on there. Now we can move it around. And again, now this is real clean text. And actually, I think that needs to be rotated ever so slightly. And that's a nice thing about this vector. Or we could do that. We can move it around. We're not locked in. And our image looks good. Our Jiffy looks good. Our shadow on the background looks good. That thing looks good. It looks like I forgot to. I didn't turn this off. I remember I was showing it to you and I didn't turn it off. So let me turn that off. Now, I could just kind of put it right on top if I wanted to, but we don't want to do that. So again, here I screwed something up. What do I do here? I just generate a new one again. And what I'll do too, before I even do anything else, I'll go to my downloads and I'll get rid of this, and I'll get rid of the first one, and I'll go to my Spring 23. I didn't mean to screw up this much stuff, but you know, that's the stuff that happens. So, and then I'll go here and I'll delete that, the 2. Remember, JPEGs, you could always just generate new JPEGs, so not a big deal. And I'll delete the first one. Now I have all the JPEGs gone. Let me go back to Figma and I'll delete it since it doesn't really exist anymore. Didn't mean to do that. Let me go back in Figma and delete the Jiffy box. And then I'll make a new JPEG here. So let me do that one more time, third time. Third time's a charm here. We're going to export as JPEG and I'll save. No changes. I'll go to my downloads There it is. I'll just copy it and put it into my other folder. You could move it, you could cut it too, but I always like copying. Just feels safer doing that. Notes, Jiffy Box 2, I'll paste it. There it is again. Now let me just do this one more time in Figma. Now again, we're doing this in Figma. We're putting our clean JPEG in there. So I'm going to just click off, make sure nothing's selected, and I'll go File, Place Image. There it is again. And I'll just click over there, then I'll drag it onto the frame. And just kind of make sure it's in place. And then again, I'll just move it down below all the text that we're using and zoom in a little bit, see how things look. Looks pretty good. I could even nudge this over if I want. I could go up here, check this out, that looks good. I could go down here, see how this looks, that looks good. And I could go over here, see how that looks good. This needs to be nudged over, actually. Let me just make sure that's in place so we don't see anything there. That means I might want to check this baking mix, make sure that's okay. And now, after all that, after making those mistakes with some of that stuff, with the glow down there, and then I did it a second time and I had the America's Favorite turned on, which I didn't mean to. Now I have all this clean vector art, clean vector art, clean vector art, and then nice raster art with our image. Now this is kind of print ready. You'd kind of consider this print ready, even though we're not working in CMYK, but it's all high res. And what you could do now that you're done, you should be done now, at least with your box, is go to File and go to Export Frames to PDF, because you're only going to export your frames. So don't just go to Export, go to Frames to PDF. It'll export everything on your frames. And actually, there it is. It generated right away. And this is what you're going to turn in. This is going to be your final that you're going to turn in, this PDF, because I'm going to double click on it, look at it, and go, wow, look at that. Nice, clean vector artwork. Nice, clean vector artwork there. And then down at the bottom, I could zoom in and go, oh, wow, nice, clean vector artwork. You can see it's even substituting as I zoom in. And this, too, is nice, clean vector artwork over here. Now, I could have double-checked the point sizes and everything with the glow and kept that in there. You could even do some kind of glow in Figma. You could do like a drop shadow and use white if you want to, if you needed to do that as well. But this is what you're going to have as your final of the box. Now, we're going to do an ad with it eventually. But right now, this will be your final. So you want to make sure that it's a PDF and you turn it in. Now, remember how to turn in your PDF. You're going to go to My Warren. You're going to go to My Warren for the course. I'll put it in student view, and I'll go down to coursework. And I'll go down to Unit 6. There's Jiffy Box Redesign. To turn this in, you're just going to go in here. And now remember, you can put in your PSD file as well. So then I'll show you how to do that. You could put in two things, your PSD file and your PDF, your final PDF that you just generated. So I'm going to add a comment. I'll show you how to do both. And if you want to put in your PDF, you have to do that as a file. That's a file. And I'll go here to this file icon, insert file, and I'll go to upload. And it's not in here right now. It's actually in my downloads because I just generated it. And there it is. There's my final. And it's pretty big because it's high res. There it is. The one just went to downloads from Figma when I exported frames. And I'll hit open. And then I'll hit insert. And what I'd like you to do is click on it and then go to this link. Don't unlink it or anything. Just click in the middle of it and go to the link, which is in gray, and just make sure it opens a new window and hit save. And then what you can do after, I'm just going to hit return. Then what you can also do is if you go to Photo P, if you didn't do this already, you can go here and go File, Share, and use the PSD Photo P online, photop.com, and hit OK. And copy this URL, copy it, It no longer just opens it in a new tab like it used to. Now it copies the URL. And then go back to your comment in here, insert a link. So this is not a link, this is a file. Now you're going to insert a link, and you're going to paste your PSD link, and you can also put open a new window and hit save. And it says, do you want to add the required HTTP? Just hit yes. And that's all you need. So this is your PDF, and this is your PSD. So then after you save, I'm going to see your PDF, which I'll click on and go, oh wow, that looks awesome. Then I'll see your PSD, which I can actually look at your whole PSD and everything you did, even if you had any problems or anything like in Photo P. And also, I almost forgot, I also want to see your Figma. So make sure from Figma you share it, you copy your link, and you go back here. Now if you forgot to do that, hit edit and add one more link. I'll hit return, insert a link, paste, choose new window, and hit save. So you have your PDF, which is a file that opens a new window. You have your PSD, which was a link you generated from Photo P that opens in a new window. And then you have your Figma file that will open in a new window, and that's the one you shared from Figma. So 3 things you're turning in. So big project here. And this is your finished, and this is your kind of supporting work. So you have your PSD, which is your supporting Photoshop document, and you have your Figma, which is your supporting Figma document. Now, if you were working in Adobe, you would still have a Photoshop document, except you might have an InDesign document, or you might have an Illustrator document instead of Figma. So just going over that, and that way our PDF has the best of both worlds. So that's what you want to turn in. And again, I'm sorry about doing a couple things here out of order, but that's what you want to turn in. So even if you added another comment, you could put them in separate comments if you want, or you could put them all in one comment. But that's what you're going to be turning in for your P2 Jiffy Box. So that's the end of part 5.